Welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg, from local government to economic development and real estate. If it's happening in Fredericksburg, Texas, we talk about it. Now your host, Leanne Bailey.
Hey everybody, welcome to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. Boy, it's a Chamber of Commerce day if I've ever seen one. I'm excited today because we're interviewing the new president and CEO of the Fredericksburg Chamber of Commerce, Jim Mikula. Let's go in and see what Jim's up to. Come on. I'm excited today because they always talk about it being a Chamber of Commerce day when everything's great and beautiful and the weather's nice outside. Well, today is my Chamber of Commerce day because I'm excited to be here and interview the new Chamber president here in Fredericksburg, Jim Mikula. He's the president and CEO. And hey, Jim, welcome. Thanks for being on my podcast.
Really, it's great to be with you.
Yeah, awesome. So, new to the job, you've been in Fredericksburg for a while, but this is a new position for you. I mean, you're just a couple weeks in, right?
Yeah, this is the start of my third week.
Gosh, they hit the ground running. So I gave the intro, but tell me who you are. Who do you represent today? Give me a little synopsis on Jim Mikula and the Chamber of Commerce.
So I have to, full disclosure, I'm a native Californian. But I got here as fast as I could.
There you go.
And so I've been here a little over 8 years now, and took over the chamber from Penny 3 weeks ago, and it's exciting. So I've been on nonprofit boards before, but I've never led a nonprofit, and I've been on chamber boards and all of those things. So seeing it from a different angle and the importance that we play in the community for representing the businesses, so we have 800 members roughly right now.
That's incredible.
And surprisingly, as well as 100 of them are nonprofits, which speaks a lot to the community here and the importance of nonprofits to the community. So I'm still learning how to be the president and CEO of the chamber and all that it comes. And fortunately, I have good friends like you and your husband, Clinton, and that's going to help significantly in getting my feet underneath me and getting going at a faster pace than I am right now.
Yeah, I'm always here for happy hours, really my role. No, we've known each other for a while now. I didn't realize you've been here in Fredericksburg for 8 years. It's crazy how time flies. I know you've been, like you said, you've been involved in a lot of nonprofits, which I think has led to this position. I was really excited to hear that you got it. There's a lot to be said for volunteering in this community, but there's even more to be said for leading. And when you talk about the chamber, you really are leading a lot of businesses, and we need that. I'm a member of the chamber, and we look to you guys to help us navigate some of this, the economy and how do we market, and as business owners, what do we do? What do we need to know? So what are some of the programs the chamber is looking for? What have they been doing or doing this next year that might help me as a business owner navigate some of this crazy stuff in the world of business?
Well, I'm going to go back to the pandemic a little bit and then work forward, because the pandemic switched how the chamber was focused into the community. And Penny did a great job of communicating out to the business community, your payroll, monies from the federal government and all of that. She did a wonderful job with that.
And Penny, I'll interrupt you right quick. Penny was the former, Penny McBride, former president and CEO for many, many years. So.
Yeah, over 10 years.
Yeah.
And actually, she had two stints. The first stint was when the Chamber of Commerce was the CVB as well.
Oh, yes.
And then she went away and then came back and all of that. But during that pandemic, it caused the board to focus more on what do we need to do to support businesses. And so we had a great, the parade was excellent, the leaders' breakfasts, all of those things. But the board got more focused onto how do we support the local businesses. And so coming out of that is we have a child care committee. Wow. They're making good progress on that, fighting windmills with the affordable housing. But I think we may have found a way to work with the city on getting that done. Workforce development is a critical element. So we're working with the high school, and we're going to go into the middle school as well and start talking about jobs in the community and all of that. So we we're working on the infrastructure for business in town. And then the next step I want to go to is the processes of business. So we want to come in and do guest service workshops, small businesses, and how do you use QuickBooks effectively and manage your cash flow and those type things. So I was talking with Ruthann, my wife, and I said, it seems to me that the chamber is the COO of the community.
That's a good.
And CVB is the chief marketing people in town. So so we have to work on our product. So that both product and our services for that. How do we help our members become more financially astute so that they're managing their cash flow and all of those things effectively? So we're looking at how do we do that in the community and provide more, not only workforce development of future young people coming up, but our existing workforce. How do we improve them? And I think if we can help improve the workforce that's actually working in the community, we might be able to move our retention rate up. And so we don't have this spin in the community with recruiting and retention.
It seems like in the past, not the older, just in the past, the chamber was kind of like the fun guys, fun after five, any kind of little event where, everybody had fun. And it was, I think it was a connections. Everybody's using these opportunities to meet other business owners. But it's evolving to be, like you were saying, the CEO, the operations part. And as a small business person, you're so busy just trying to do the everyday thing that sometimes you have no idea where to go when you need help with QuickBooks and staffing and training. I know that's been a big deal sometimes, and especially when you have a turnover and you're constantly training, it can be exhausting. So I've attended some of the chamber's latest leadership breakfasts in the morning, and I think that's great. There was a talk about the affordable housing, and that was important information, especially as a realtor. So I really like that. I think the more we can hear from you guys, the better off we are. I like the partnership or the relationship that this organization has with the Convention and Visitors Bureau, but also with the city of Fredericksburg. Tell me a little bit about that. What has the relationship been like, and what do you see it looking like moving forward when we talk about some of these affordable housing and stuff?
Right. So I'll go big picture. I'll come down to the city. So I don't think most people know how big the economy is in Gillespie County. It's well over $1 billion.
Yeah.
And half of it is agriculture.
Crazy.
And so half of it's agriculture, and I think tourism is only like 30%, but tourism is 60-70% of the employees. So that, because they see all the employees, I think that must be the biggest. And in the agriculture, even that the wineries certainly have a big play in that, but they're not. They're still less than half of the agricultural economy in the county. So our relationship with both the city and the county, we have to play at a more sophisticated level with the city and the county with that large of an economy.
Yeah.
And so it's working with Clinton and the judge and the mayor and the city council and helping them understand, you guys got a tiger by the tail and it's wagging us.
Yeah.
And so we got to get control of this. And when we start to manage more effectively with that and help our businesses manage more effectively, then we can do more. We can expand that economy on purpose as opposed to it growing on its own.
Yeah, a little more proactive approach than a reactive approach. Always like that. Kind of a control freak, so I kind of like to be ahead of the game. Can you imagine?
And you have these different entities too. So you have the Economic Development Council, which is paid for by the city and the county, and then you have the CVB with the hot tax on that, and then you have the chamber in there. So and the city's doing their thing, the county's doing their thing, the city council's doing their thing, and so the chamber, we can sit in the middle there, and it's like those concurrent circles. So we can get them to match together and understand what are the different parties are doing from a business perspective to support our economy and our local businesses. And we're all small businesses. You're a small business person, but you affect, outside of the tourism dollar, folks like yourself. So you have an employee And you got a team over there, you're renting the office, you're paying your utilities.
Yeah.
All these things are invisible.
Yeah, I need QuickBook help. I'm just kidding too.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, there's a lot. I always feel like there's got to be sort of a catalyst that helps plug all those entities together, and I think that's a great position for you to be in. So speaking of the economic development, we talked a little bit earlier about some of your thoughts on trying to work with the EDC to diversify our economy. And I think when you go back and look at what happened with COVID, where we had a lot of tourism and hospitality was very strong. And now that people are traveling more abroad and not staying in B&Bs, we do kind of need to keep that diversity in our community. And so tell me a little bit about your thoughts moving forward on connecting with the EDC and what you would like to see, when we look at diversifying the economy here.
Well, having I've moved, I think, being in a hotel career, you always move. So I think I moved 15 times, something like that, and both living overseas as well as throughout the United States. So I got a chance to see different EDCs working, different economies, and the diversity. And the ones that were diverse were the strongest ones of them all. So I want to work with the EDC to find other businesses to move into town, whether it's airplane maintenance operation at the airport, Heartland Enterprises with what they do. They make. I was out at their factory the other day, and they make stuff for rockets out there, and in addition to their cast iron pans. And so, if they can operate here successfully, then maybe can we go get similar businesses into the community from that? The other place that we can take a look at is because it's coming to us whether we like it or not, but Austin's moving west. San Antonio's moving north, so people are going from San Antonio to Bernie. People are moving here. And so, but what businesses can they bring with them to establish here? One of my goals is to create more jobs that have that pay more, that have a higher, a living wage, I think is the term for that. And the other thing I've learned in the community is for the hospitality, the restaurants and hotels, especially in the restaurants, most of those employees drive in from Kerrville, Comfort, and even Bernie because they make more money on tips here than they do back in those towns. So they don't mind commuting, and so that's okay. And then so get the economy going to a level so that we can also come back around with the city on the affordable housing, so that our teachers, our police officers, our firefighters, our EMTs, that professional class that's struggling to own homes in town. And so I don't see us building inexpensive apartments. Let's go build some homes that these people can own and live in and prosper.
Yeah, I like that. Owning, obviously, as a realtor is my number one goal, because you're just throwing money away otherwise. And to own something is the American dream, in my opinion. So I like the idea of bringing in more of those higher wage jobs and getting people to put down roots, to have families that'll come back and keep the community vibrant. I really like that. Can we talk about Leadership Gillespie County?
Sure.
So did you find out how many leadership classes we've had?
Yes, it was 1994 was the first class. So next year.
Which feels like yesterday, but it wasn't, just so you know. I graduated high school in 95, so it was just a few years ago. So how many, I don't know, I don't do math.
Next year will be the 30th class.
Isn't that cool? Yeah. So tell me about Leadership Gillespie County.
Well, I haven't delved into it too much at this point, but the one thing that I learned about it, which is interesting, is that there's always a volunteer that runs it. And so this year, Caroline Eitzen has been running it, and now Julie Herboat from Grape Creek, she's going to take next year's class.
Good.
And I have done leadership workshops around the world, actually. And so I'm looking forward to getting involved in that program and working with our next generation of leaders and all of that. And it's going to be interesting for me to get into that class with its history that it has, and take the success that it is, and can we tweak it a little bit? Yeah, make it a little bit better and continue that history. And the other thing I want to do with the leadership class is that I want to do more for the alumni.
Oh, nice.
and do so to recognize that. So 30 times 30 people.
Yeah, 30, yeah.
There's a lot of alumni out there.
There is.
So what can we do to keep them engaged? Do we have sessions for them? I don't know what we'll be doing, but I want to engage the alumni as well as the current student class.
Well, I'm alumni. My husband's alumni. He went either the year or the 2 years before me. And it was one of the greatest experiences that I've ever been in. I've been in a lot of leadership. I did the same in the town that Clinton and I moved from, and then also with the Texas Realtors, I went through leadership. But I will say that my favorite was the one here. And essentially, you apply. You either get accepted, which is really hard to get turned down because they really want everybody to go through the program. And you meet once a month with this group of people you've probably never met before, and you don't know them well. And you have a retreat for the first time you meet, stay overnight, and you do all these obstacle courses, you build things, and you build friendships. And I have probably 4 or 5 out of that group that I became very close with, and some of my best friends today that I would have never met if I hadn't gone through Gillespie County, Leadership Gillespie County. But the one thing I learned too was going to different businesses. Like we went to Heartland and got to look at their production. Now they weren't making skillets and cast iron pans back then, but we went to the Nimitz Museum, and General Hagee spoke to us, which was amazing. He has an amazing leadership speech. We went to the hospital, got to see some of the ag production around the county, and it was so cool. And then we went to Austin and talked to a lot of the folks at the Capitol, and that was really neat. So I encourage anybody that's ever even slightly considered it to do it. And it's funny because some of the people that were born and raised here didn't know some of the things that go on. I always call it kind of the behind the scenes, things that you don't always get to see what's going on, which is also kind of the goal of the podcast, is to give people that behind the scenes that you don't see every day. But it was incredible. I really enjoyed it. And so bringing alumni back, that would be fun. I'd totally be interested in that because it's kind of like you do your thing and then you miss it. You miss being, and then we had a project too. I forgot about the project part of it. So that was really interesting because you're either fundraising or you have 20 or 30 people trying to come together and finish a project in the amount of time. I don't know, is it a 6 or 9 month program?
Yeah, I think it starts off in August every year, and I think it concludes the following spring for that. But just what I think about is the talent that has gone through that for 30 years, and how can we access that talent and put it to good use for the community, and give avenues for the alumni to choose certain things that they can do.
Yeah, and many of us have, I think, gone on to serve boards, and it kind of gives you the know-how, but also like the confidence and the willingness to go serve on other boards and other ways in the community. And
the chamber board, one of the things that surprised me is how active they are in the business of the chamber. And it's not that they're micromanaging or anything. It's just that they're always asking, well, what can I do? What can I do? How can I help? And watching them at the parade on December 1st.
Now talk about the parade. What parade are you talking about? Wait, some of our listeners might not know.
So the Light the Night Parade is
favorite.
Been sponsored by the Chamber for over 30 years now.
That's awesome.
And it started off, I think his name is Sammy Segner was the gentleman who started it. And there were 4 floats. And they circled mark plots.
That's crazy.
That was the first one.
4 floats.
Fast forward to this year, 160 floats in the parade. And the first 60 were on live TV in Austin, on CBS Austin, and we got them all through. And so I was there from 7 in the morning, and I think I got home at 11 o'clock, something like that. And I looked on my watch, and I walked 11 miles, 11 and a half miles that day on that and watching the parade. I still get goosebumps thinking about the success of that parade and what Penny did to build it to where it is.
I feel like this year was my most favorite year. I don't know why, but so it's at night. Most of the, you almost have to be lit up in some way. All the parades are lit up in various ways, and it is so cute, and the themes. And I thought everybody went all out this year. It's really good. The weather was perfect.
Yeah, it was great weather.
Chamber of Commerce Day.
Chamber of Commerce day and evening. I teased Penny. I said, you've used up 10 years of good weather on me now.
Yeah,
in one
thanks
day.
a lot, buddy. Well, so the parade. So I interrupted you. You were talking about the parade and some of the outcomes of the parade. But I think that and the board and their willingness to volunteer and help. And I know most of the board members, and they're great people, and the volunteerism and putting that heart of a worker out, and like you're saying, you were out there at 7. I'm sure some of them were too, out helping and recruiting. And you have a big golf tournament in the spring, and some of the folks on the board are always calling me to come play golf, but you don't have to twist my arm very hard.
That's
But
right.
so the golf tournament's a big deal.
Yeah, it's a big deal and actually the board, they literally run that themselves.
That's cool.
They do the fundraising, they're getting the sponsors for the holes and all of that. So they're very active in that part of it, which is great for me because in addition to Light the Night Parade and the other activities that we do, I want to be out in the community more, interacting
That's a
with
good point.
our business leaders and putting together educational opportunities for those folks as well.
And so that's one of y'all's biggest fundraisers because, like you said, it is a nonprofit. And so to do the things that you do and put on the events, you guys need a little extra help with the budget. So that is a huge deal in the spring.
Yeah, between Light the Night, the golf tournament, the Leadership Gillespie County, the leaders' breakfast that we have, the lunch and learns and all things, that's 50% of our revenue comes from, which is good so that we're not so reliant on the dues from our membership.
So let's switch gears just a little bit because the chamber is so important. But one of my goals with the podcast is just to get to know the various personalities in Fredericksburg. And you've been here, like you said, 8 years. What brought you and your family here? How did you find Fredericksburg?
Well, my first, as I say laughingly, my first tour was in 2011. I was interim general manager at Boot Ranch. And when I drove into Fredericksburg, I flew into Austin or San Antonio and drove in. It looks so much like my home, Sacramento, California.
Wow.
Rolling hills, oak trees. And I thought, this is great.
Yeah.
It feels like home to me. And then we came back the second time. The Scott family recruited me to do some real estate development in Texas and all that. And fortunately, I was able to be based here in Fredericksburg for that. And it's when you come from big cities and California and all that. What impressed me the most was you're driving down the backcountry roads and everybody waves at each other, right? And if they don't wave, they think something's wrong. They're going to come get you.
Yes, that's right.
to see if you're in trouble.
Yeah.
And so we enjoyed that friendliness that's here. It was, even though you have all these Germans who came here in 1846 and all, as a new person coming in, I was welcomed. It wasn't, you're so if you go to the East Coast, like in Cape Cod, if you're not a descendant of the Pilgrims, you're not a local.
Oh, gosh. Yeah.
So anyway, so you're welcomed in, and then we did the affordable housing charrette, and then I sat on the steering committee for the visioning process, and that was all within my first 2 years of being in town. So it was easy to get involved in the community, which I really enjoy doing.
Yeah, and you've been involved in a lot of things. You and I serve on. I'm still there. You've got other things, but the University Center Board, also the Flavory, Texas. You're on the board there. Tell me some of the other boards.
Well, those are the only two boards that I've sat on in town. But I started the culinary program at the high school, and we went from 22 students the first year. They now have over 100 students in the program. Which is
incredible.
And because of the culinary program, on top of the medical program they have there and the agricultural program they have there, over 50% of the students are now in a CTE course. And so that changed the budget. So all of a sudden now that over 50% of the school's budget has to go to CTE classes.
That's great.
And they have the funds now to build a new kitchen that they're going to do. The construction people will get a proper facility as well. That's all. Once they get the middle school done, then they'll go after that.
Yeah. Well, I've enjoyed watching your passion for that because obviously our town is full of restaurants. We need that. I'm an old restaurant manager. I started when I was in college waiting tables, and now my daughter is. But it's a great regardless of whether you stay in that industry or not, it teaches you a lot of life skills. I feel like that's kind of what helped me be a better realtor, because you're dealing with a lot of people and a lot of things. But anyway, I've seen your passion for that, and I appreciate all that you've put into that. And then your wife, Ruth Ann, I love her. She's a little bitty tiny thing, and she works at the Nimitz Museum, which I think is amazing. We'll someday get her on the podcast and General Hagee and talk about the Nimitz. But so what are some of the things you and Ruth Ann like to do in Fredericksburg? What are your favorite? Do you eat out? Do you like to go hiking? What do you like to do here?
Well, number one on the list is golf.
Oh, I knew that. She's a better golfer than you.
Well, she's a better skier than I am.
Is she?
I'm the better golfer.
Okay,
but anyway, we love doing that. And if I hadn't gone into the hotel business, I probably would have went into the nursery business. I love gardening and all of that. So I converted most of our backyard into a wildflower meadow. So it's beautiful from March and April all the way. We still have flowers going this year into December. So that's what we love to do. We're both, because I come from the hotel business and the culinary background, we love restaurants and cooking food at home. So she does the stuff inside the house. I'm outside with either the gas grill or the smoker doing the proteins outside.
That's how it works at my house. Yeah.
And the other is just the friends in town and having dinner at other people's homes as opposed to going out to restaurants. Sometimes it's fun to sit there and nosh about the local city council.
I've enjoyed a couple of dinners with you up on a hilltop out in the middle of nowhere, and we've all brought picnic baskets and wine and sit up there and watch the sunset. And that's some of my favorite memories here of having dinner with you guys.
Yeah, I enjoy those meals outside like that. Yeah, it's outstanding in the field.
That's nice. Maybe we're going to have to put that on a card. Well, for people that are moving in or people here that just don't even know, what else would you like for them to know about Fredericksburg? Go who to meet, anything, any last minute thoughts?
Well, what's great about Fredericksburg is you get the benefits of a small town, but you also have big town amenities, whether it's HEB, the wineries. It's like, we're what Napa was 20, 30 years ago. That's what Fredericksburg is. But you have the Capitol close by. You've got San Antonio close by. You got several rivers around us where we can go fishing or kayaking. So there's plenty of outdoor activities, hiking at Enchanted Rock, whatever. The bike riding around here is fantastic. And did I say wine?
I didn't hear it. I've never heard it before.
So I've been fortunate enough in my life to have tasted a lot of wine. And for me, living in the wine country I thought I would never be able to live in the wine country. And now here we are in the wine country, and membership at Grape Creek and other ones. And we like going to eat at Grape Creek at their restaurant there in the vineyard.
It's incredible what we have. And I do feel like we have a lot of tourists on the weekends, but it's something really nice that we can enjoy during the week where it's not so busy. And Clinton and I too, he says, what are your hobbies, Leanne? I'm like, eating and drinking wine. Those are my hobbies. And so I love it. I love the spirit, and I love watching these programs like you guys got going on at the high school and growing kids into these different roles. And we're getting a lot of farm to table. So you're kind of taking some of that ag base and putting it into the hospitality industry.
Well, for Flavory, 2 or 3 weeks ago, the new dean of the Plant and Soils College was out here.
At where? From where?
Texas Tech.
Yes. My alma mater. I always have to give my plugs when I can.
Right, did I get that
there
right?
you go. Yes, thank you.
So anyway, he was out, and I said to him that Flavory and Texas Tech can do something that's nowhere else in the United States.
That's right.
So they would have agriculture, so small farms, big farms, and also the proteins, whether cattle or sheep or whatever. And then you have the wineries here together. And then you have Texas Tech in the education. There's nowhere else in the United States that you could put all those things together. At Napa, they have UC Davis, but it's away from, not in the valley itself. And the Culinary Institute of America that's in Napa is more of a showcase. It's not really a college per se. So Texas Tech has their plant and soil science. They have their RIM program.
Yes.
And we can take all of that and blend it together to create this center for culinary and wine.
I love it.
That there's nowhere else in the United States.
Yeah, I do love that. We'll continue doing what you're doing. We'll check back in with you maybe in 6 months or a year and see how it's going with you in the new job. And
Well, we should do this before the golf tournament.
okay,
We'll do it outside at Lady Bird. And
yeah, I
do the
like it. That's a
podcast
good
outside.
idea. Well, Jim, thank you for being on the podcast, and I wish you the best of luck this year moving forward as you get your feet. And like I said, always be here if you need a little happy hour to navigate this thing. Thanks, buddy.
Thanks for having me on so soon
You bet.
in my position.
Yes, sir.
Thanks for listening to Everything Real in Fredericksburg. Get more information about the Fredericksburg area and contact Leanne at labaileyrealestate.com.